Lightning like Steve McQueen. I'm in the fast lane when the light turns green. And I built tough, I ain't nothing but grit. Cause I made rugged blood, sweat, and spit. Yeah, like a horse I fly. Better push yourself in for a bumpy ride. I like to play hard, but I work harder. And I weather the storm cause I'm built stronger.
What is up, ladies and gentlemen? We are back. We are live. It is the Freight Coach Morning Show, the top morning show in transportation, coming to you guys every single weekday, 8:30 a.m. Pacific, 10:30 Central, to break down some industry headlines and, most importantly, provide some actual insight into what you can do with all of this information. If this is your first time tuning in, welcome. This is the real side of freight, ladies and gentlemen. And what do I mean by that? I mean, I only speak to transportation professionals on this show, as well as my twice-a-week long-form podcast, because I want to put the right information out there from the people who have done what you're looking to do or who are currently doing what you're trying to achieve, so you can take that information, apply it, utilize it, and see a meaningful difference in your business and your life. It's one of the many, many reasons why I probably fly this American flag behind me every single day. A, we're the greatest nation on earth, but B, I'm living my American dream, and I want to help each and every one of you live yours as well. I got a guest on the show here. He's going to be up in a second. I'm trying to catch him off guard a little bit because he keeps going back and forth on doing stuff and not. I can see him in the waiting room, but I'm going to pull him up here in a second. He's been on the show. We're going to talk about truck parking today, you guys, and all of those things that come along with it, and all the things that are important to our driver community out there that seemingly get overlooked in some instances. But before we do that, I got to give a shout out to my friends over at VHub. Comments are blowing up today, you guys. I love it. I'm going to get to all of that, but before we do anything, I got to give a shout out to my friends over at VHub. You guys, vhubapp.com. Whether you're a broker, carrier, or a shipper, we all need access to trailers at some point in time. And you get paid to move these things. That's on top of the revenue that you can get by loading these trailers out, you guys. So if you're a small fleet or an owner-op, you don't have to shut your operation down now because you have a trailer in the shop. Or you know what? If you want to provide an enterprise-level sales solution to your customers or your prospects, jump on VHub, you guys. So what they're working on right now is they have a bunch of trailers out in San Diego, California, going to multiple locations. You guys, they got some roll-up doors heading out to New Hampshire. And then they have some standard swing doors going to Illinois, Michigan, Ohio, and Texas. And they range between $1,100 and $2,200 per trailer. And then they also have Paragould, Arkansas, heading up to Mississauga, Ontario. And those pay $736 per trailer. And now with these, you guys, you don't just have to have a customer in San Diego or Paragould. You can grab them, reposition them into other markets. They just have to end up in those destination cities. So hit them up, you guys, vhubapp.com. My friends Zach Lonergan and Stacey Steen, they'll be in the audience. Just do me a favor and let them know that the Freight Coach sent you. Tracy St. Clair, good morning. Teresa Dunlap, Luca, Michael, Steven, good morning to you guys. Rick Wooten, Nick Sanders, you better get those 100 calls in. Sonny Sharma, Orange Shirt Gang, let's get it. Flo and Carlos and Anthony, good morning. Catherine, good morning. Happy Monday. Bob, Hasrati, good morning. Let's go. Dude, we're blowing up today. I'm going to bring him up without further ado. The man, the myth, the legend, Mr. Anthony Keaton. Back on. Dude, what's up with the brick background there?
Hey, yeah. Well, first of all, thank you for having me on your show. Good morning. How are you?
Always good to have you on. I'm doing well, man. I'm doing really well. I'm, went back home this past weekend. Got back yesterday afternoon and now back at it and ready to rock and make stuff happen. So normal stuff. What about you? What's good?
And just so much. I'm so excited to be at VHub/FinPark, and I just saw you promoting them. So I know that it's definitely in our hearts, but it's such a great company. We're doing so many great things. We're actually launching our application tomorrow. So I'm very excited about that.
What do you mean you're launching your application? What is this? Nobody told me this.
Nobody told you this. Well, part of being on the show, I think, is to actually promote the application. So
I had an idea. I just got it.
Oh, wow. Okay. You know what? I heard that you were going to get me, and that's the one. You got me.
So let's talk about this, man. Let's get this out there.
So, yeah, I mean, first of all, obviously, most of everybody should know that I've been in truck parking for a while now. I started a company called Truck Park in 2016 and had sold that in 2021. Flash forward to today, I'm now Chief Operating Officer at FinPark, which is a FinLock company. We have been building for the last 2 months an application, just like Truck Park. We're the aggregator, so we're building an app that allows the truck driver to find, reserve, and pay for parking in real time. So having a lot of fun doing it as well.
Dude, it's, because this is one of those things where, like this is what initially me and you connected on, probably 3 years ago at this point, 3.5 years ago. And it was with what you were doing back then. And mainly it was more of your critical understanding about what's important to the driver community. And, it was your family history. It was your uncle, right, who really got you into all of this. And, for those of you who've been following me for a long time, you guys know that I come from a family of truck drivers. But if this is your first time kind of hearing this, my family's been in the industry for damn near 100 years. And that's where our initial friendship kind of started, was like, holy shit, you really, really care about this, right? Like you really care about putting a product out there that solves with seemingly every poll that is put out there from the driver community. Safe and secure parking is a top 3 issue year in and year out.
Yeah, I think that was the difference that separated us, right? Like there's been so many people out there that claim that, they love this industry, but there's really no ties there. Maybe they jumped in, or maybe they had an opportunity to work for a company, and then all of a sudden it's like, I love this industry, which is totally fine. But I think the way that we connected is that we actually have family that have been in transportation, and not only just transportation, but also truck drivers as well.
Yeah, no, I feel you, man. So, dude, what's new on the parking front, right? Because like there's legislation that seemingly keeps kind of popping up, right? Like, but what has actually been put into effect from a law standpoint? I mean, I know that there's some, that they're looking into it from a federal level right now, and we all know how that goes. Is it's going to be a couple of years before anything was done. But I feel like this is why I'm a fan of private business, right? Like this is why I'm a fan of the fair market, or the free market, and capitalism, right? Like I believe in responsible capitalism, because this is where a private company can come in and solve an issue that is like this. And then especially in today's day and age, right? Like everybody knows how to use a smartphone, no matter how they try and spin it. Some of my family members who are a little bit older, they still know how to use a smartphone. And, for me, it's just about the efficiency aspect of things too, and like better route planning. And, when you're talking about fuel, for example, being one of the top expenses that are out there, now there's a way for you to digitize and streamline a lot of that. But mainly now it's, you can get in and kind of beat the rush of the traditional way of parking your semi at night. You have a spot secured for yourself, and then mainly the safety element of it as well.
Yeah, so let's talk about that. So on the political side, right, the government has been talking about truck parking for probably about a decade and a half, maybe 2. They haven't done anything about it up until maybe the last year or 2. Again, it's a slow process. There's been tons of lobbyists that try to have it not go into effect or be out there for the truck drivers, which is really sad to see. But from my knowledge, and I'm not an attorney, but from my knowledge, I've seen the law switch into, I wouldn't say high gear. I mean, they're definitely in low gear, because again, it's going to be a very slow process. But what they're trying to do at least is provide additional truck parking to drivers across the country. But it won't be federal for a while. So they of course, what they always do is give it to church and state. So the states will now control how many truck parking spaces or slots they can have available for the drivers. But again, as you said, it's very slow. That's why the beauty of having a private company is that you can control that a lot more. And we are not going to own the parking locations. Again, we're the aggregator, we're the middleman, but we're going to go out to every single location, like I did in my last business, and not only help the operations for that particular business, but also help drivers find that safe parking at night to get a good night's rest, and also to protect their payloads.
So like, where are you? Because like, there might be somebody who's listening to this, and, this is something that I just thought of too. It's like, man, if I owned some property near a major interstate, or maybe I had a developed, plot of land that had a parking lot already on it, like, is that a viable candidate for somebody like me? Like, say I own something off of a major freeway exit, it had a gate around it, but it's been sitting vacant, right? For whatever reason. is that something where I could come to you or you guys would come to me and talk about opening that up to put a parking facility on site? Or is there like a prime area or a candidate that you guys look for on where do you guys prospect for the driver community?
Yeah, great question. Certainly, just straight up, simplest form. Yes, you can. We are partnering up with almost everybody. So it's not just your traditional parking lot owners. We partnered up with, interestingly enough, hedge funds, angel investors that have been pooling their money in to try to create truck parking. Let's say you are, you inherited, for example, a warehouse, or you inherited a truck terminal, or just space, empty space, as you said, that's sitting along maybe a freight corridor, or it's a mile away. You can actually add your location directly to our platform, and then we'll promote your location. We'll give you market visibility to our network of truck drivers, as well as other networks that we're connected with as well. Yeah. So it's some really cool stuff that we're doing. And just to digress here, let's say you do have this excess land, and you don't know what to do with it. We're also experts in that space as well. So we'll actually help you. We'll advise you on how to build up that location to be a secure truck parking location as well.
Yeah. And I get insurance, because that's like the first thing that comes to my mind too. Like, what additional insurance would I need as a business owner to have something like that on site? But I also think maximizing your space too, and and your investment, right? Like if you own a building, for example, unless your plan is unless you have the infrastructure of your company to fill out every square foot of that building, it's just like buying a commercial real estate, for example, and then having subleasers come in and rent out offices. And I feel like if you have some space out there, like, why not look into that, right? Like it's not Airbnb, but I also look at it as a kind of like an Airbnb style thing. Like, man, if you have the real estate up there and available and you're not using it for your business, why not look into this? Like, creating additional revenue streams is talked about frequently. And then if you already have the asset in place, right? Like you already own the property. I mean, how many trucking companies out there, Anthony, or how many other industrial lots out there have 4 to 6 spots? And they're like, I never thought of it like this before, right? Like because again, like that's the beauty of a lot of these new concepts that come about is there isn't necessarily a track record for this. So this is a whole new revenue stream for a lot of existing businesses.
Certainly it is. I mean, even when I was building out my business, let's say almost 7 years now. Wow. When I first started, there wasn't a lot of people doing it. And there's always been a revenue stream. It's not like this is completely new, right? But there just hasn't been a lot, or there wasn't a lot at the time, I should say. And now everyone's wanting into truck parking. Everybody wants to add this new old revenue stream that could essentially turn around their parking locations and or turning around their excess land. I've seen, like you said, shippers that said, hey, we have 10 to 15 spaces in the side of our warehouse. We'd love to allocate some of those spaces for truck drivers. I've seen it where farmers have opted into they had excess land and some of their acreage, right, and they've used it for truck parking. I've seen stadiums. When I was building my business, we had Anaheim Stadium, so they were giving us additional spaces for truck parking. We had off airport parking. So I can go on and on, and then there's more new entrants. When I say entrants, there's more people that are trying to get in the space than ever before.
Yeah. Yeah. Because again, it's like, even from a broker's perspective, right? Like, what's on my roadmap long-term, I wish I was from a capital perspective, I wish I was in a position to do this right now. But what's on my roadmap is offering this level of service to people who book freight with Freight Coach Logistics, right? Where if we have a load going into a area where, Finn Park has a facility in, go ahead and reserving that spot for our drivers. So they have something that's close by. They have a secure spot. And again, because I'm always like, how do we separate ourselves, right? And I know that, there's the argument that's always made, like, oh, you need shippers before you need carriers and yada, yada, yada. I think it's a balancing act. I really do. And because I think that there is a 100% direct correlation in sourcing the right carrier partners in the long term and making your freight more appealing to them. And you have to balance that out, because I truly feel to my core that will always lead to more business from your shippers when you do that. So it's like, for me, I'm trying to think, 3 to 4 steps ahead every single time. And that's on my roadmap of what we are going to offer one day, right? Because again, at the end, it's a very nominal fee. But if that increases, I'm willing, and again, this is just probably because I'm somebody who's just figured it out for the last couple of years in this business. I just want to provide something to where customers or my carriers would look at me as, hey, you know what? Yeah, this load, again, I know that this is always a conversation. This load might not pay the most overall, but shit, they do X, Y, and Z for me. So it makes it more appealing. Now I know that I'm going to be close to the destination from a parking perspective. I'm going to get offloaded in a timely manner, and then I can get on to that next shipment, right? So I'm just trying to think of ways to think outside of the box. And if you're a business owner or you're involved in this industry, you need to be thinking about these things too, right? Like, where is the industry headed? Where is it headed, and what can you do to separate yourself? Because again, here's one thing that is always on my mind, and this is not on a lot of people's minds. You can have 1,000 shipments on your board right now, but if you don't have a fucking carrier that's going to go in there and execute upon that shipment, you're dead in the water. You have no business. So what are you doing to appeal to the carrier market? Like, honestly, what are you doing right now? How are you making your freight appealing to them? And that's one thing that you have to take into consideration.
Yeah, you know what? Just to add on to that too, I think there's so many different market segments out there, right, in our industry, and you can break it down by the carriers, the brokers, the shippers, and the drivers. In fact, FinPark actually caters to all of them. And the way we do so is, of course, the carriers. We're allowing carriers to have this application market visibility on where safe and secure parking is going to be along their routes. So we're going to actually build in phase 2 a predictive route guidance using, I think, machine learning or AI, but don't quote me on that. It's going to allow the driver, especially with their dedicated lane, to find parking, or to even in advance book the parking at that location, because they know at this hour, or at this, the clock is ticking down on hours of service. We're going to actually get you to this specific point. It's incredible. So we're using geographic or geofencing and different technologies in order to do so. On the broker side, it might be a little bit different than the carrier, where the broker wants to be a broker of choice. They want to stand out from their competition. They want to promote their business. And how do they do so? Well, they promote truck parking as a value-added tool for their business to the carriers, and the carriers will love that, of course. Sometimes they pay for parking, maybe for all of their carriers. Maybe it's a deal that they do with their carriers, like there's some sort of discount for the truck parking. On the shipper side, as we talked about earlier, they can utilize their operations to drive additional parking spaces for the drivers. And then on the driver side, of course, just finding the safe and secure parking. So I think there's just a lot of ways that businesses could leverage their networks and leverage their own properties to really help this business grow.
I talk about this a lot, Anthony, is it's not always about a rate per mile, right? Like, a lot of people are like, oh, I want to go in and say that I could save you money, and why you have access to trucks, and what, I'm not here to talk about that, but what I'm what I talk about is separating yourself from your competition, right? So say you're, as a broker, like I talk about in this, when we're talking about where VHub has their trailers at, for example, you guys, you can offer an enterprise level sales solution with this. Like, think about it like this. You jump on VHub, for example, they have a bunch of trailers out in San Diego, right? They have a bunch of trailers out there. You're going to get paid to move that. You can do a drop trailer pool at a shipper in Southern California going to these various locations. Then talk about a way to appeal to the carrier who's going to be hauling that power only load, where it's like, hey man, we're going to, we got parking at, Phoenix, Arizona, Albuquerque, New Mexico, wherever this looks like. And then you can jump on there and secure that load for them. And then you can sell on that to your prospects, you guys, to your shippers. Talk about a way to separate yourself. Hey, this is an additional layer of security that we offer for your freight. We go out there and take care of some of our drivers' parkings. And again, I get it. This isn't in everybody's instance, but this is a tool for you guys to use, right? Where you can go on there as a broker and secure these spots, additional levels of safety and security for customers' freight. Freight theft is always a problem, you guys. Freight theft is always a problem. This is a way for you to do that. And then if you're wondering, how do I quote those lanes? Go up, hit up green screens. You guys are right over there. You can use that. And you see how I just fucking looped everything in like that? But no, like I'm being serious though. At the same time, I'm being very serious. This is a way for you to get in there and offer a different angle of prospecting and sales to your customers on why you're different, right? Because like that's a fucking DM I get all the time. How do I separate myself? Think of things from a different angle. This is a way for you to get in there and offer another added layer of security to their shipments.
And like, I mean, you just mentioned something that I found so profound is the cargo theft, right? So cargo theft statistically is $1 billion industry. In fact, last year there was $1.2 billion in cargo theft worldwide. I mean, that's insane, right? So when you think about it, it's like, how do we not only promote our locations to be more safe and secure, but how can we work together? And I was reading a couple comments as well. It's like, I could work with the carriers to say, hey, how can we protect your payload? Because there are pirates out there. They call them these cargo theft pirates, and they're out there and they have the most like state-of-the-art technology. And people think that it's like years and years ago when people came with wire cutters and just, cut out chain. But like today, they actually have these I've seen them before. They're like these little like RFID chips, and they can unlock a trailer door just by like click of a button. It's unbelievable. So again, $1.2 billion in cargo theft. How can we get more proactive to offer this to carriers, offer this to the brokers for their carriers, offer this to the shippers to protect not only their payloads but also their warehouses as well. So there's just so many things that tie into this truck parking topic as well. It's not just how can we find safe and secure parking. It's like, how can we not only protect payloads, but also protect the driver that's in the truck?
Yeah, no, and that's exactly it, because it's like, I don't subscribe to the driver shortage narrative. I don't at all. But how do we appeal to more people, right? Like we have to constantly be thinking ahead, right? We have to think ahead in the fact that one day, you guys, all of these drivers are not going to be able to drive anymore, right? So how do you recruit that next generation into this industry, right? And I look at, apps and utilizing your smartphone and technology and everything else. That's what's important to the next generation. I personally, as a 37-year-old, like to pick up the phone and talk to people still, right? Like I'm not the most bought into a lot of apps and everything else, but I'm an aging demographic. Where's the next demographic and where are they going to come in and what's important to them? I use apps every single day of my life for a lot of my just to fucking operate as a person, right? Just to go to the gym in the morning, got to use their app, right? Because that's where my QR code is. Stuff like that. So I think, like, again, thinking ahead, thinking about that next generation, that's a big selling point, a big recruiting point to that next generation of person. Hey, you can get on there. You can go, and if you have a load that's going 2,000 miles, you can go and pre-book your spots along that route right now. And then boom, on top of that, you can see where's the most cost-effective fuel stops along the way as well. Oh, hey, is there any attractions in those areas that I can go and stop at that I want to check out and everything? Well, like, I don't know. I just view this as such a logical step in the right direction, right? I just don't see how people can look at, where the industry is today and be like, no, we're all right. This is the beauty of the free market, man, is where are things going and building this out, and how can you be a part of positive change for the industry?
Yeah, positive change is something that we really need, like not only in trucking, right? Like literally everything. So, the one thing that I've been really humble is not only just trying to, because I've done this before. I built up truck park. I know how building up a business in a similar fashion. I know how to operate it. I can call myself an expert, but it's really working together, right? It's like working together with everybody. And right now, as we're talking, I'm reading these comments, and everybody is like got such great feedback, right? And they're saying like, how could you work with the carrier? How can I go to a carrier and say, yeah, how can we work together? Or talking about, this is generational opportunities for everybody. So it's like, I guess what I'm saying, to make it short here, is that we can all create change. We can also be agents of change. Everybody that I'm reading the comments are definitely agents of change. And we can go out there, we could do some really cool stuff together. We can work together. We can figure out how to, make this industry different. Like, something that I've personally seen is really difficult, especially in the last 2 weeks, was yellow, right? I don't want to get off into like this off topic conversation, but like, it was sad for me because, one, I actually knew the CEO of Yellow. Darren Hawkins is a great guy. And everybody, I'm not saying everybody, but there was a lot of negative and positive comments about Yellow, right? And yes, maybe they haven't always been, the best brokerage. Maybe they made some mistakes along the way. But at the same time, we can be different. We can be different how we talk about, others that we're not connected with directly. So we can.
I'll say this right. Yeah, right? I'll say this right now. I will say this right now. Celebrating the demise of another company does not make you a more efficient operation. All right. I'm seeing a lot of that out there. And since you brought it up, I'll talk about it. I'm seeing a lot of Monday morning quarterbacking today by a lot of people. And at the end of the day, another company's failure does not make you profitable or better. All right. I literally have never ran a $1 billion organization yet. When I get there, I'll let you know. Same thing with others. And, you're right, Anthony, your underlying message here is very right. It's the reason why on my content, I don't talk about the stupid negativity of this industry that everybody relies on to get fucking clicks, right? Like, I could easily do that and selfishly 10x my engagement, 10x my what I would charge my advertisers and everything else. I could easily do that if I really wanted to, but that is counterproductive to everything that I'm committed to. That's why you and I are friends. At the end of the day, A, you're a fucking great guy, but B, you want to move this industry forward. VHub wants to move this industry forward. Green Screens wants to move this industry forward. SPI, LoadSmart, my advertisers that I partner with want to move this industry forward, right? And those are the people that I put this content out for. I want this to help one person look at their operation today and be like, what can I do differently? How can I be a positive catalyst for change in the transportation industry? Like I said, you guys, my family's been in this industry for 100 fucking years. I take this shit very seriously. I have multi-generations that came before me that busted their ass to give me the opportunity to do what I'm doing today. And I don't take that shit lightly.
Yep. No, I mean, that's what I'm saying. I don't want to get off on a tangent or anything, but to be the agent of change, just like you said, it's not to, disparage anybody, right? It's to bring people up. And how can we work together to be better? How can we create that agent of change, or be that agent of change and create change? Great change is starting with just being better than everybody else. Meaning, like, you don't have to participate in the garbage that's out there. You just, help these people. I can't remember the statistic. It was like 27,000 jobs that were lost just yesterday as they seized all operations. So you can reach out to those people and figure out how to help them and how to bless them. That's to be different. That's how you be different. That's how you create change in this industry. Dude,
absolutely. And that's the thing is it's like everything that's going on right now is an opportunity, right? I think that Andrew Teal brings up a great point here, but there's value in dissecting what happened and why. A smart man learns from their mistakes. A wise man learns from other. Yeah. And it's very true, right? Like there's a lot of that. And I think that, to kind of tie this conversation together here, you guys, just because things have been done a certain way for a long time, if you're a broker and you've never thought about like, hey, maybe I could help my driver partners out and, at least give them an option on safe and secure parking, or take that and sell that as a layer of added security to your customers' freight. Like, this is what we need to do. You need to think differently. You guys, you really do. Here's why, like, I am not an entrepreneurial expert at all. I've only been doing this for a couple of years. And Anthony, you might agree with this, but if everybody's saying run to the right, if you're an entrepreneur, if everybody's like, oh, go right, fucking turn to the left and fucking sprint at a rapid pace in the opposite direction, because that's where the answers generally lie.
I mean, I never have ever really followed the checkbox, so to speak. Even my wife yesterday was talking about like when you follow directions, right? That's usually not entrepreneurs. I'm usually outside of the checkbox. Like I never really know how to follow that checkbox. I go the complete different direction. Just like you're saying, everybody's going to the right, we're going to the left. Start going a different direction. Start making change. Start doing things differently, and let's all work together to be better.
Yeah, that was a fast 30 minutes, man. It always is. How can anybody reach out to you though, bud? How does anybody reach out? You got, if you really need to find Anthony, you can let me know. I'll put you in contact with him, but he's pretty active on LinkedIn. So where can they find you though?
Yeah, I mean, I think LinkedIn is good platform for as well. I think that's a great resource to connect with me. You can also email me directly. I'm not going to say it so I can create like it's crazy. I don't want to have like blown up inbox, if that makes any sense. But I definitely want to create I want to talk to everybody, but I also want to be strategic. So I think the best way to contact me is to honestly either go through you, Chris, or just hit me up on LinkedIn and we can talk from there.
Perfect. That works, you guys. That's going to be it. We'll be back tomorrow, 8:30 a.m. Pacific, 10:30 Central. We'll be breaking down some industry headlines as always. And you know what? If you guys got value in this, subscribe and share the show. If you're watching on YouTube or if you're hitting this up on the audio only replay on iTunes and Spotify and you got value, subscribe and share this, guys. Rank this. This is how we have reached this level and how we're going to continue to grow is because if you guys see value, your network's going to see value in it as well. I appreciate you guys. I love you guys, and we'll be talking to you soon.
Thank you, guys.